So you remember how Sesame Street used to start? You can admit it if you watched it. It was with your kids, I'm sure. Brought to you by the letter A, brought to you by the letter B. So these words are brought to you by the Hebrew letter Vav. Vav is just a stick of a letter. But it's the most common letter in the Torah. Now, it can simply mean and, Vayomer Adonai el Moshe, and God spoke to Moses. But it also has a superpower. When attached to a verb, it flips the tense from past tense to future tense. So just to pick a phrase from this week's Torah portion, Moses is told to go to Pharaoh and ask for the Israelites to be set free, and the Torah says, of course, that Pharaoh's heart is hardened, and it answers its own question that we might be asking, why? V'yadatem ki ani Adonai. They, the Egyptians, will know that I am God. Now, normally, yadatem means they knew, past tense. Put that vav in front, v'yadatem, they will know. No, it flips to future. Little Hebrew grammar lesson for folks. Many Torah scrolls are actually called Vav Torahs because every column of the text actually begins with the letter Vav. Now, sometimes it flips the tense from past to future, and sometimes it's just a simple conjunction. And that's where the significance lies. Because I want to focus on the power of that word, and. We often forget, I think, how important it is in English as well. Because and in a sentence makes room for more than one idea. And opens our thinking to a wide range of perspectives. And is not just a word. And is a state of mind. Unfortunately, to our detriment, the word we hear most often in our world today is but. Now, but's an interruption, dismissing what's been said before. But is confrontational. But is a word that reveals a closure of the mind. So I say, for example, my favorite color is green. You say, but green's an ugly color. I say, I really love to ride my bicycle around town. You say, but biking on the streets is very dangerous. Now, those are benign examples, but you get my point. Throwing up a but creates a profound deficit in our ability to speak about complicated issues in language and up here as well. So here's what drives this kind of conversation, and what, to be honest, I've been contemplating, ruminating, reflecting on, and obsessing about for a very long time. It's the subject of Israel. And this was even before October 7th. For many of us, it evokes intense emotions and passions. But so many conversations about Israel hit that roadblock, and I'd like to suggest we need way more ands. Consider some buts that reflect a particular range of perspectives. But Hamas caused the war. But anti-Semitism drives objections to Israel's treatment of Palestinians. But our universities hate Israel. But the IDF is the most moral army. But Israel has no choice but to utterly wipe out Hamas. But there's no partner for peace. But we don't serve in the IDF, so we can't criticize the conduct of the IDF. But there's only one way to support Israel as American Jews. Now, I'm certain that many of you are right now saying, exactly, we agree. Everything he said is true. Well, let's consider another round of buts that reflects a different perspective. But the IDF has no regard for Palestinian lives. But Israel is not interested in making peace. But Israel is racist and anti-democratic. But Israel's use of force is disproportionate. But Zionism is colonialism. But all settlers are not interested in peace. But Israel is an apartheid state. But I can no longer support Israel because of the current war. Now, I'm certain And perhaps there are some of you out there who are saying, exactly. He's right on. Now, many of the things I said, reflecting each of those constellations of the two poles of opinions, have a certain amount of truth to them. That is, you could likely muster supporting evidence for what I've just said, with a selective, though incomplete, aggregation of certain facts. However, especially when it comes to Israel's history, and in truth, I would say this applies to so many issues in our time. When complicated issues of centuries of history and fraught topics are reduced into easily digestible talking points, they become very dangerous half-truths, or sometimes even outright misconceptions. So let me link a string of ands to demonstrate how we might discuss Israel as a community. And I have no doubt that some of you will be very troubled by the way that I do this. But I'm begging you, take up this challenge. Wrestle with the ideas that I'm presenting you. And if you do wish to take issue with what I've said, don't write me a pithy dismissal. We get those as rabbis once in a while. If you wish to take issue with what I've said, don't post something derogatory on social media. We get that too. Please don't do that, because it doesn't further the conversation. Let's chat. Let's have a conversation which is filled with ands, and try not to dismiss each other with, but this is how I feel. So, my love of Israel and my dreams for what she can become are filled with a lot of ands. Here's a sampling. Israel's response to the atrocious genocidal attack by Hamas was justified. Hamas is a violent, suicidal terrorist organization whose capacity to perpetrate violence against Israel must be eliminated. I am devastated by the suffering of Israelis because as a Jew, I identify first and foremost with my people. And I am deeply troubled by the deaths of non-combatant Palestinians. And the IDF aspires to be a moral army, just like many Western armies, just like the army of this nation. And armies are made up of people, human beings. And tragically, human beings sometimes perpetrate horrific crimes. And I believe that Israel's leaders must explore a range of approaches to this war, not just the one that has been perpetrated up to now. I believe that Israel must forever be the national homeland of the Jewish people, and that Palestinians have legitimate claims against Israel for land seizures, for excessive violence, and for extrajudicial detentions. And Israel's resistance to establishing a Palestinian state is a contributing cause to the enduring conflict in the region. And a two-state solution is essential for Israel's future. And I'm acutely aware of the dangers of such Palestinian autonomy. We saw it on October 7th. And both Israel and the Palestinians have put up many roadblocks on the way to achieving that solution. There is no question that anti-Semitism is resurgent in our world today. It manifests itself in much of the anti-Israel rhetoric that we hear, both from the old players as well as from some surprising and very disappointing sources. And this includes university students and faculty and politicians and social justice organizations. And universities must continue as intellectual hubs of our societies. And the causes addressed by many social justice organizations address injustices in our society that have to be addressed, and Dr. Martin Luther King's work is not finished. That we celebrate his birth date and his work in a congregation full of Jews is significant. And politicians, let's move on. Okay. And white supremacists, and neo-Nazis, and politicians, and certain national figures with very loud social media megaphones are very, very dangerous to the Jewish people. And opposition to the policies of the government of Israel is not automatically anti-Semitism. The American and Israeli communities must engage in each other's welfare in evolving ways, two strong and vibrant centers of world Judaism. There will not be a massive American aliyah to Israel. There will not be a massive exodus from Israel to the United States. So that means we must support each other, and we must also constructively criticize and guide each other. And it must come from love, from respect, and a mutual interest in the success and well-being of both. If I'm breaking your brain a little bit, or if you're a little bit frustrated with me, I'm going to acknowledge that andism is very hard. It requires a deep understanding of a situation, both the historical, the current context, and the current context, and a willingness to be open to learn. It involves having ideas in one's heads that might be disturbing or painful. It demands opening up one's mind to a wide range of thinking and a commitment to seeking insight from different sources. So let's be clear, though. Not every perspective warrants an and. There are many ideas that are truly reprehensible, dangerous, immoral, or unjust. And all of us have different red lines. But here's a challenge I place before you. Consider an and that is just a few notches beyond where you are, outside of your normal comfort zone. And turn to a source you don't normally listen to, but that you know others respect. And listen to the positions articulated by that source very carefully. Consider the issues they raise, and contemplate how you might add some aspect of their ideas into your and. There is much to be gleaned from the ubiquitousness of the Torah's single little letter, that Vav, because that powerful letter rests at the core of the richness of Jewish thought. We are a people committed to and. The Talmud famously records dissenting voices on a single page, and Jewish unity and Jewish peoplehood are built on and. And just as a Vav in the Torah transforms the past into the future, so too can our commitment to that tiny conjunction provide us with a vital tool for navigating our oftentimes fraught, always complex, and predictably challenging future. And that's the end. Thank you.